Coming up on episode 156 of Creative Writing, I'm talking all about how to find beta and ARC readers for your book.
I can't go back to sleep, it's almost light. These restless thoughts have kept me up again tonight.
Hello and welcome to Creative Writing. I'm Kirsten Oliphant, your host, and this is the podcast for you, a writer, blogger, or creative who wants to build an online platform without being smarmy. I am so glad that you are listening today. I'm recording during the day and it feels a little weird. I had to actually start over because I couldn't quite get my energy up. I guess I'm very energetic about the podcast at 11 p.m., but it's nice to go a little bit ahead today. So not that you know, but I know. So I'm just explaining why I feel a little bit weird. Today I'm going to be talking about ARC and beta readers. I've been doing a series on publication and launching, especially self-publishing through Amazon. And I've been talking about fiction a lot, but beta and ARC readers are super important if you're doing nonfiction as well. So if you're planning to put out a book, maybe that has to do with what you're blogging about. That's going to be nonfiction. Or if you're just someone who does nonfiction books, this is also really important for you. So I'm going to share my thoughts on this. I think the terms beta and ARC can be a little bit interchangeable. I'll define them. So if you're like, I don't know what you're talking about, don't worry, it's coming. But it is going to be important if you want to put out a book and you do want to put out a book. I actually should know what episode, and I don't at the moment. I'll link to it in the show notes, but I had an episode recently, if you want to scroll back through the podcast episodes, about why you should write a book. No matter what you're doing, it's important. So before we get into this, if you want to find the show notes, you can go to creativewriting.com/156. And if you want to go and discuss this more in the Creative Writing community, which is a free Facebook group full of fabulous, non-smarmy people like yourselves, you can go to creativewriting.com/community. Okay, so let's talk beta and ARC readers. So beta readers, ARC readers. Beta readers, in my understanding and use of them, are the people that see your book first. They're going to see it, well, let me do ARC readers too, and then I'll go back and give each one specific definitions. But ARC are like the advanced readers. So when you hear people talk about ARCs, ARC, advanced reader copy. And so often they're just referred to as ARCs or betas. So let me kind of break those down more now that I've said what the terms are. Beta readers are the superfans. They kind of need to be. These are the people who understand your genre. I think that's a really important part of it. They are going to be the ones who see your book first. They're going to see it at its ugliest. They're the people that you should really trust because you are giving them a copy of your book when it's in sort of its infant stages. And I know some people do this differently. I've seen people share this chapter by chapter. I tend to do it as soon as it's done. So how many should you have? I've got less than 10. And I'll talk about a little bit later how I've developed this a little bit, but I have less than 10. Usually I think 6 to 10 people will get back to me as I'll send it, but not everybody can do it every time. My publishing schedule is nuts. It's a book a month. So I have some people that can do that, and that's not going to be for everyone. So what do I send them? I'm sending them a Word document generally. A few of them do not have Word and request like a Mobi file they can read on their Kindle, which is fine too. And then what do they do for me? So my beta readers will look for things like plot holes, typos, other errors, anything in the story that might like trip them up or where it slows down or something that doesn't make sense. Those are the things they're going to help me with. And they also point out typos. Now I do have a paid proofreader, and I send the beta readers the copy before the proofreader. Well, actually at the same time. So my proofreader, again, I'm on a tight schedule. My proofreader has the book at the same time as the betas. And what I've started doing, because I've been trying to find a proofreader that I can trust who's fast enough and cheap enough for me, is that I will do the corrections and typos the proofreader sends first. Then I look through the beta typos to see how well my proofreader has done. And so I have actually switched out of using some proofreaders when I found that they missed like 30 things. Everybody misses something, and I think it's helpful to have more than one set of eyes on your manuscript. Even if you're paying someone, I think it's really helpful to also have beta readers too. Mine always catch at least 1 to 2 things that are kind of massive that the proofreader missed because, again, humanity. And when do I send them a book? Well, for me, my publishing schedule, like I said, is insane. So I am usually sending my beta readers the book like less than 2 weeks before publication, because again, once a month, and I'm not writing really ahead. So I'm not one of those once a month people where I have like 5 books written. Although I have written a whole bunch of books I haven't published yet because I'm going to publish them all at once. However, I'm still publishing a book a month. So I'm writing it and publishing it in that month. That's not going to work for everybody. It's not going to work for most people. And it's not going to work for most beta readers. I just happen to be in a genre where the readers read fast, which is romance, clean, steamy, all the kinds of romance. The readers tend to be fast. And so I found a great team and feel very blessed to have them. Now I'm going to answer the same question for ARC readers. And don't worry, I'm going to talk about where to find them, okay? Because I know a lot of you guys are probably like, okay, this is great, but where? We're going to get there. So my ARC readers, the advanced readers, these are the people that are getting the book in the final form. So they've been through proofreading, they've been through the beta readers. I have cleaned everything up from the mistakes they found. I have formatted the book and it's in its final form. It should be as close to perfect and as close to what you're going to publish as possible. What do I send them? Well, I'm sending them the Mobi or EPUB file, and I use BookFunnel to do this. And actually, back with the beta readers, anyone who wants a copy other than Word, I also use BookFunnel to send that. And the reason I use BookFunnel, you can just send a Mobi document, and that's the fully formatted, basically where they can upload it to Kindle. But if you're not using something like BookFunnel, it can be really hard to actually get that on the device. The more steps and barriers you put between people and your book, the less they're going to read it, the less likely. And you need beta readers, you need ARC readers, so you want it to be easy. That's why I use BookFunnel. It's a click, and BookFunnel has all this tech that makes it just zoop, go right into your reader. It's fantastic. So what do my ARC readers do for me? They're reading in advance, not very far in advance, as you can probably guess based on my tight timeline, but mine don't read that far in advance. But they're typically the people who are going to write my first reviews. And in another episode, I'm going to talk about a launch team. I would say the ARC readers are kind of like your launch team, but I want to talk more in depth about what it actually looks like to launch and different launch styles. But I don't ask a lot for my ARC readers. I don't go in asking them to do tons and tons of things. I want them to read the book and write a review. And there are some ways to do this, and different ways people handle checking on that. I don't like to do a lot of homework to check, but I am trying to also narrow down my team so it's actually people who want to read and review. You cannot require a review in exchange for a free book. That violates Amazon's terms, and your readers need to know also what language to use in reviews. They can say they got a free copy and chose to review it. They should not ever say in exchange, because that triggers the Amazon bots to delete the reviews because it makes it sound like you're paying or giving a free copy in exchange for, as in they have to leave a review. Technically, that violates Amazon's terms of service. So they should write a review. They should understand that's the expectation, but also you can't require it. When do you send them a book? A lot of people send them way more in advance. Again, mine are getting it sometimes less than a week before publication. Again, that is not for everyone. And my ARC readers and my genre tend to be fast readers. And so this does work for me. So I'm on day 2 of a launch. My book launched just 2 days ago, and I've already got 15 reviews. It's not crazy, but that's good. That's where I want to be, because that means I can start getting paid promos. Typically by the end of a month, I've got around 50 reviews on my books. And so that's where I am with them. And most of those, but not all of those, are from my ARC team. And my betas also, I will email them individually and tell them, hey, the book is up. Thank you so much for being a beta. If you liked it, which generally my betas like my books, that's why they're reading them, then they will go and leave a review as well. Okay, so let's talk about how to find them. That's a little bit about generally how I use them and the terms that I'm meaning, but how to find them. So a lot of people will start, I'm going to assume you're just starting out, okay? Maybe you're not, and that's fine. You can still use these things. But if you're just starting out especially, you may feel really strapped, and friends and family may look like a good option, and they can be. I do have some friends, I'm not sure if I'm trying to think about family. I have some family that might be good readers, but you don't know if they're going to be good or bad till you try it. And because it's personal, it can have a little bit of a difficult effect. So for example, people who are close to you might only want to say good things to you because they want to encourage you. That might not be helpful. If your book has problems, they may not be the best people to tell you. On the flip side of that, I have had friends or family be incredibly harsh because they know me. And that's really hard to come back from. Like you may find that you lose a relationship or have a really strained relationship because someone you're close to says really mean things about your book. And that is really difficult. So just realize if you're going to go to friends and family first, that might be a downside that you just have to prepare for. Paid services. I am not going to actually list out any of these. If I were, I would be Googling them or asking in an author group, and you can do that same thing. However, I know that there are paid beta or ARC groups that you can actually pay a fee and then have the book sent out. I would be less inclined to do this. I think there are some downsides that can happen. When I talked about beta readers and the trust that's there, especially with beta readers, when they're seeing the kind of ugly version, I would never want to send that to a paid service. I feel like that is a huge trust issue. But even for advanced readers, they're getting the final beautiful product. But I feel like there is a lot of trust there. Like the people I'm letting on my team, I grew my team from people who had already joined my list. And so there were already people who had at least read a book and liked it. So I know that there's somebody who likes my genre. Now, you don't want to have a team that's only going to say good things, except you kind of do. Okay, here's why. I've heard people complaining about like, oh man, I went and looked at this book and they're all 5-star reviews and they all said that they were on the, advanced team and they're just biased. Well, yeah, they might be biased, but they also just might be the ideal reader, and their reviews are speaking to the other ideal readers and saying the kinds of things that those other ideal readers want. And maybe the person reading the reviews is not the ideal reader. I have had people on my advanced team leave 2 and 3-star reviews. Very rarely. I can think of like one example. And you don't always know because sometimes the email is different than the Amazon handle. I know it is for me. I know it is for some of my advanced readers. So I don't always know, but every so often I can find out, or I see the other things they review, or they email me about it. And I will actually always tell them I want an honest review. However, advanced readers, if you don't like my book at all, I would prefer that you email me to talk to me about it because I will value your opinion. I would prefer that over a 2 or 1-star review, especially. I think it's only been a 3-star, not a 2. I don't think the 2 stars have actually been my ARCs now that I'm thinking about it. But I have had at least a 3-star review, which Amazon does list as a critical review. Now, a 3-star review can actually be really helpful because Amazon will often show the top critical review. And if you have some stranger giving your book a 1-star and all of your other people are giving 4 and 5 stars, that 1 star is going to be the top critical review. And sometimes that will show up at the very top. One of my books still has a 2-star rating showing as the very first review, despite the fact that it has like 40 or 55-star reviews. So that really stinks. And so sometimes if you have that 3-star review, which Amazon calls critical, that's actually really helpful because that review might show up above any like random 1 or 2 stars that you get. And typically, if you have a good book that is suited to the genre, has a good cover, you're going to end up with more 4 and 5-star reviews unless there's a problem. And those beta and ARC readers are going to help you know if there's a problem so that you're not going to publish a book and get a bunch of 1 or 2-star reviews, since that's one of the benefits of using them. But the paid services, because I kind of got off a little bit of a tangent there, but those are all the reasons I would be a little bit leery of a paid service because you just don't know who those people are. You don't know what you're getting. You don't always know if they're the right genre. I've heard some horror stories about reviewers who do this almost for a living, like they do it constantly. They're obsessed about it and have a weird sort of pride about it, not necessarily in a good way, like a competitive pride about how many books they do and how much they've done in this whole like review world. And I don't know. There's a flip side to this, and I'm going to talk about how to treat your beta and ARC people in the tips. But I would just say if you're desperate, paid services might be good, but I would recommend trying to find it organically. So again, if you're just starting out and you're like, okay, but I don't know how, well, here's a couple other ways. And these 2 last ways I'm going to share have to do with networking. And so I haven't talked about this. I think I probably need to in an upcoming episode. I've mentioned networking and how incredibly important it is, how incredibly important it was to me getting to where I am in a year in publishing in clean romance. But you have to network. You have to be involved with other authors. You are not writing in a vacuum. You're not publishing in a vacuum. It is so important to build these relationships. So one way that I've seen authors, especially new authors, getting a new team of advanced readers is asking other authors that they've networked with, hey, will you share my sign up for my launch team or ARC team, whatever you're calling it, with your readers? And I've done this for other authors before. So I have a friend who's just starting out. Hey, Daphne, and she's in Houston here. We got to meet up recently and it was amazing. And I told her that I would share her link to sign up with my advanced team. So I emailed not my entire list. I think I just emailed my launch team and my ARC readers. And I said, hey, here's a new author. She's writing clean romance. She's someone I know. If any of you guys want to sign up to be on her ARC team, here is the sign up form. And she ended up getting like 30 people or something from that. Now, you can't do this too often, probably. You don't want to do this for every single author. You don't want to be stingy, but this is one of those things. Like if you don't have readers who have time to read your book, or if you're publishing every month like I am, I can't do that constantly, or I might lose my people. They might be too busy for me. So I want to both share them. And again, it's their option to sign up. It's not like I'm selling. I would never give away those email addresses. I would invite my people and give them a link to sign up. But you may not want to do that too much. And with every author too, like you might want to only do that with authors that you trust, because your people may really not trust you anymore if you send them to somebody who's like not writing the kind of writing that's either good enough, or maybe I've, seen some people in clean romance who actually are, still have language and things like that would really bother my readers. And so I'm not going to share their books or their sign up with my readers. So you want to know the people. And another option, if you don't feel comfortable or haven't built those relationships, there are some author critique groups or places where you could ask other authors or swap. Like, I'll read your beta if you read mine. Now, I will say I've had bad luck with this because, again, my type publishing schedule, I am reading a lot, but it's different to read for pleasure than it is to read as an advanced or beta reader. And so I tried to do this with some other authors lately, and we did not have time to read each other's books, which was not helpful. And so just make sure you have time. If you offer to do this, you have to commit to actually doing it. But early on, they might be really good, at least for beta. I don't know if you would get ARC people, but for some other authors, I've done the beta reading where I took a look for them. So here are some tips when you are building out these teams. The first thing I would say is to be very clear in your expectations. Now, my beta readers before, I think what I did was I actually emailed my entire launch team. And I say launch team, what I'm really meaning is my ARC readers. I kind of am using those interchangeably. Again, those are a little different, but I'm going to talk about that in another episode. I'm still using them interchangeably, but I will email that bigger list, which is like 75 people or so. And I've asked, hey, do you want to be a beta reader? That didn't always work. I would sometimes get people giving me way too much feedback or not helpful feedback. So I would keep the betas small and be very clear, even to the point, like I let them know, hey, I spell out my numerals and I use the Oxford comma. So please stop taking away my commas and please stop changing my numbers to numerals instead of spelling it out, because I use the Chicago manual style. You want to be that specific. It matters. Don't let everybody on your beta team. Like I said, I sent out a way too big of an email. And after time, I started to see the people who really did a good job. And now I just email them personally. It's not part of an email list. It's just through Gmail. I just email them personally about it. Another tip is to find a timeline that works. As I've mentioned, my publication schedule is very, very fast. And I have found people that works for. It may not work for your genre. You may not be able to find the readers. Find one that works. And the last is that you need to be thankful. I mean, I kind of hit on this before. If you are not appreciating those people who are your beta and ARC readers, then you're doing something wrong. They are taking the time to do you an enormous favor, and you need to show appreciation. Now, that appreciation may not look like buying them something or doing something, but if it does not at least look like thanks, then you're doing it wrong. I have seen other authors give things, but I think it can be tricky, especially if you're asking for reviews, especially. But for your beta readers, maybe you could gift them electronically a copy of the book, especially if you only have a handful of them. Consider what it looks like. I just tend to email them a lot of thanks and to be very uplifting to them. And I also acknowledge them in my books and I have their names, their first names in there. That's important to me. I have been a beta reader before and not even gotten an acknowledgement that they got my feedback. And that I will never do it for that person again. And I remembered that. So I think a little bit of thanks goes a long way, and no thanks also goes a long way. So you need to make sure that you're actually thanking them. So I hope that this has been helpful, going over what the difference is between beta and ARCs, where you can find them, and a few of my helpful tips. I'm going to talk in the future about launch teams. I'm not sure if that's going to be next week or not. I've sort of been flying by the seat of my pants. I have not made out a big publishing schedule of what I want to talk about because I don't have a ton of time. So I'm kind of talking about what's passionate, or what I'm passionate about that week, and what I have been hearing you guys ask questions about. So if you want to find the show notes, you can go to createifwriting.com/156. And if you want to get my weekly emails so you know when a new podcast episode is out and you get the tips, resources, and tricks from me, no tricks, tips and resources only, you can go to createifwriting.com/quick fix to get the quick fix on Fridays. Thank you guys so much for listening. And to any of you out there who are listening who are my beta or ARC people, I appreciate the heck out of you. And I think that I have the best beta and ARC people ever. And I'm so grateful for that and for you. Thanks also to Jasmine Commerce of JasmineCommerceMusic.com for lending her music to the show. She has a fabulous bunch of records. Can we still call them records? I'm going to call them records on her website, JasmineCommerceMusic.com. She's fabulous. Now it's that time where I tell you to go out and create content that you love and serve your people well.